go. Episode 34. I didn't think we were going to make 3 or 4. Now we're on episode 34. And with me today, you all have the pleasure of meeting the one and the only Big Chief, Pat O'Hagan. My friend, how are you doing today?
The Big Chief is doing great, brother. I'm talking to you. What else? Where else would I want to be? I'm with my brother Darren. Where else would I want to be, dude? Where else would I want to be?
We can enhance this.
Me.
Yeah, man. We can enhance this drinking high lifes if you want. I know it's only 9:54 in the morning, but
hey, 12 o'clock somewhere, dude.
So this guy in my life, what a role. Starting from, so this goes all the way back for those of you in the audience, all 12 of you in the audience right now. So our Pat and I relationship goes back. Everybody who knows me pretty well knows my affinity for coaching youth sports, all sports in general, but my affinity for coaching football. And those who have come to know me now as I've coached my own son, Luca, prowling the sidelines of Franklin Lakes, the energy and enthusiasm, I just want to take it all back to this guy, because this guy was the OG of prowling the sidelines. I've never seen a head coach work over youth officials like a 3-piece chicken dinner. like Mr. O'Hagan here. In all seriousness, this guy was the one who gave me the opportunity to get my start way back when. It kind of coincided with me starting DSM back in 2007. My brother-in-law Josh and I, Pat was the one who gave us our first head coaching gig on the B Black team. So that was the developmental team for the 7th and 8th graders. And, it's funny now. I can imagine for you seeing these kids now that we got to coach in, jobs and careers and doing all these things. I still follow some of them on like Facebook and Instagram and now LinkedIn as they're starting their careers. But what was the impetus for you? First of all, thanks for coming on. Second,
thank you.
What was the impetus for you in terms of giving back? Because I felt like when you had been doing it for a while, and when you saw me and Josh, like 2 young guys doing what we were doing and wanting to give back, and again, neither of us had kids at the time, neither of us had any skin in the game with regards to the program. It was just about giving back. But why did you give 2 dipshits like us a chance? Like, what was it? Why was that important to you? And forever my gratefulness to you, like, to be able to do that and to be able to forge the relationships that I have with Jimmy and Tommy Bunting and Jim Gallagher and all these guys that, like, still today I see around and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember when you were young. And I'm like, I'm not that old. Like,
well, again, I think you're nailing it right now. It's like the relationship that you and I have to this day, right? I don't even want to say how much older I am than you, right? The gray hair show it. But one of my favorite sayings out there is like, game recognizes game, right? So I saw you as a young guy, no skin in the game, like you and Josh, wanting to be a part of it, right? And that's what I always look for. I always tried to find out, like, what are someone's motives? Why do they want to do this, right? You see it now, I'm sure. Like, parents would come up to me, say, hey, I want to coach. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we need help on the peewees. Well, my son's on the juniors. I'm like, exactly. We need help on the peewees. Like, are you here to coach your kid? Or are you here to be a part of what we're building, what the program's about, what we're about? Like, you remember our mantra was we and us, right? I've tried to live my life that way, coach that way, teach that way, parent that way. So I saw 2 diamonds in the rough, guys that were full of energy, wanting to be a part of it. So yeah, dude, that was easy, man. And then again, you guys were receptive to the advice, receptive to the suggestions. And then as you know, bro, you run your own business now. It's part about being a leader is trusting your gut. And I knew you guys were going to be solid, and then allowing you guys to have success, maybe fall on your face a little bit and say, hey, dude, why did you do that? And we, hopefully I was a good mentor to you and, gave you enough rope. I always say I give people enough rope. Either you're going to run with it or you're going to hang yourself with it. And you guys never did. And then the proof was always in the pudding. You got the kids to play hard, right? And, that was what we were always about, right? Any team that played us, they knew they were going to be in a dogfight. We might not win every game, but they walked off that field saying, wow, that was a battle, right? So I don't know. I just felt an instant connection to you, and I, feel like it's stronger even today. And then look back, right? You got my son started in his career, right? So, one thing, I'm a big pay it forward guy. I try to live my life that way, and have always done that. And then again, you paid it forward to my son, Patrick, gave him his first opportunity to get started. And, knock on wood, my son's killing it right now in his career. And he attributes a ton of his success to you, to what you did, man. So it's about paying it forward. So I saw that in you back then. I think more than even you saw it in yourself. And then we were talking about going out on your own. And I'm like, yeah, brother, go for it, man. It's nothing like being your own boss. And look what you've done here. You've carved out a tremendous business. You have, your energy is even stronger today than it was back then. So, homage to you, my brother. It's, it's one of the proudest things I see watching your success. And I love seeing it. If I played a minuscule part in that, dude, then that's why I did it. So.
You played a huge part, but one of the things that was particularly interesting, it's funny you mentioned about the energy, and one of the things that I most exemplify, I guess is the best way to say it, when I'm working now with Luca. This is actually going to be funny. This is going to be the first year that, we've had our group now through Franklin Lakes, through Luca's teams, and he's starting his 7th grade year. So he's going to be on his first year of seniors. And one of the things that most exemplifies what the parallel to what Chris is doing, to what you did, I think, and, Patrick and Joe, and back in the day, like 2 of the best quarterbacks, things like that. And we see it here too. And it's one of the things that I think I'm most proud of with the program, that we went from literally nothing, when the boys started in the 3rd grade, to now, 33 straight wins. The boys haven't lost. I'm knocking on wood right now. The boys haven't lost. The boys haven't lost since their 3rd grade Super Bowl. And it's a testament to the way you coached your own son. One of the things that was very telling, I don't care if it was Jimmy with AJ or, Tommy with his boy, like whoever it was, to your point about being selfless and bringing all the kids up. It didn't matter if you were the best player on the team or you were the last player on the team. Everybody was a part of the unit. And that was the best part about, I think, coaching, and a big part about how, whether it's in my business, how we've grown from what we were, which literally at the time, which funny you say it, like belief in yourself. Like I was sitting out on a front porch with a laptop wrapped in blankets. I didn't think I was going to last 3 months.
Yeah.
And having the fortitude and being able to go to battle and have those challenges is one of the things that honestly I most admired in you, because I remember nights going to practice. It was freaking freezing. It was pouring rain. Every night was fun.
Yeah.
Every single night was fun. Like the kids would come out, and yeah, there were the kids who were like, I don't know if I really want to be here. My parents are forcing me to be here. But it was like the relevancy of team was so important to the fabric of Wyckoff program, of what I call like the golden years of football. Being able to do that, and now being able to translate that to my son, I think it's going to be funny this year. It'll be the first year I'm not coaching the linemen. I'm actually going to be coaching the running back. So Luca is probably like, thank God he's not going to coach me, because he rides me like Seabiscuit.
Yeah.
But it's getting the best out of people. And that is one of, if there is one homage point to make today, is what I learned the most from you was how to get the best out of anyone in any situation. To your credit, what you just said about we didn't win every game, but dude, you walked off, those other teams walked off the field and it was a bloodbath. Every single game, you knew where you were going to get hit in the mouth. It didn't matter who you were, how talented you were. And I think that's, if I can put the emphasis on the wrong syllable here, that's an homage to your days back in high school and college. There is not a guy that I know, Hawthorne, Ursula, like you guys brought it. There was never, ever a time and place where the toughness didn't shine through. And so where did that sort of come from? Like, where was that born and bred? How did that come through you? And then, and don't tell me the tough streets of Hawthorne, because Hawthorne is, Hawthorne's a tough little place, but
yeah, no, it came from my upbringing, from my parents, right? My mom was, came to this country from Ireland at 17 years old, and she went to Kennedy Airport, and they said, someone's going to be there and pick you up. Is wearing a hat. I should have one-way ticket from Ireland. Said, yeah, the person that you're going to be staying with is wearing a hat. My mother got off the plane. Everybody in the freaking airport had a hat on, right? And she ended up working as a servant in Long Island for a family out there and carved out a great living. Met my father. My father is my hero. My parents are my heroes, right? So they instilled in us a work ethic and a toughness that, in all my brothers and sisters. And it's, I carried that with me through my whole life. So that's really, where it came from, and never wanting to let them down. And, again, and then as a player, my oldest brother, Mike, was an absolute stud, and my brother, Jim, they were great. And, they always instilled in me, like never made me feel, I was always the punk little brother. And, I earned the beatings I got from them. Trust me, I did. I should have gotten 1,000 more than I did. Right. But they always made me feel important. Right. So I always took that with me. Like I always wanted to make people who, whether they reported to me or were my teammates, to feel just as important. I never wanted to say like I was better than anybody. Right. And that carried with me forever. Right. And then my parents coached us when we were kids. My dad was my baseball coach in Hawthorne. And I watched how he treated everybody fairly, right? Almost to the point, like, didn't pay attention to me. Like, he didn't want anyone to think that I was the pitcher or the better player because he was my dad, right? He always made us prove it, right? So I always carried that with me. And, I don't think I was overly hard on my kids, right? I never wanted to be that parent that pushed them. I always left it up to them, and thank God, my kids were very good athletes. Their success speaks for itself, and beyond proud of what they did. But I just always felt like it was, I don't know, I always just saw the bigger picture. Like I always felt like, and I said it, and I think you saw it there. The most important part of what we did is, they're going to remember some of the wins and losses, but it's how they felt during that time, right? And we were blessed with both. We won a lot of games, but, when I see kids now that are in their 30s, they're married, I'm getting invited to their weddings, right? And I see them and, they're in their, they still call me coach, right? Like outside of husband and father and now grandfather, that's the best thing I love being called, is coach, right? So you had an impact, right? And, we always would talk about it back then. And I said, you know what? Someday you're going to understand what Coach O is talking about and Coach Darren are talking about, where when you're in your job, like you've done, and grinding it out, right? What do you tap into, right? It's the fourth quarter, right? We used to put our fingers up. It's the fourth quarter. So now you're all those times where you did the extra sprints and you dug in, right? now it comes into fruition as, you know, still at 58 years old, man, I still tap into that athlete in my, you know, my teens and my 20s and playing college ball. It's like, you gotta tap into that, right? And I hope I never lose that, right? So those are the things, the best thing about sports, right? It just, the life lessons you learn, you know, they're so important. And I always try to incorporate that into my coaching, even at that youth level. And I think we did a pretty good job. And again, it's not just me, right? We had you, right? Josh, we had Jimmy Gallagher, Tommy Bunting, Sar, all those guys. I mean, it wasn't me. I got way too much credit for what we did. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have been successful. So, and we had fun doing it, man. Right? Our coaches meetings are epic, right? Still to this day, we talk about it, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
it was all about that. It was all about us, and they were the best times of our lives, man. It was just great. It was just, and seeing people succeed, and kids. I get messages on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, coach, all the stuff that you talked about all came through, and thank you for that. Here I am getting married, and here I am just got a promotion and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff that you talked about back in the day, you know, really had an impact on me. That's why we do it, bro. You know, we remember the wins, right? But the impact, if we had some type of positive impact on kids, that's why we do it, bro. And I know that's why you're doing it, man. I see what you guys have done. You know, you got Chris Snee over there. It's funny. I ran into him yesterday at Dairy Queen. He didn't recognize me, but you know, that's what you need. You need a good leader, and you need to surround yourself with great people and let everybody, you know, prosper like you do with your work, man. Right? You got a great group. I always see it. I follow you, and you know, your energy, your excitement, you know, it's contagious, dude. Right? And that's how I always tried to bring it every night. You know, so.
Well,
Sorry for the long-winded answer. So
no. Tapping into it. It's interesting that you say that about the grind and putting it together, because, you know, you had your own business. Not every day is, you know, not every day is is roses. But when you bring honest energy, I think, and you get to see wins, you get to see losses, you get to be there for the ups, the downs. Like, the awesome days are great, but the days that are challenging, you know, similar to football, you know, we're going to be going away here on a family vacation, and then August 8th we start camp. Like,
yeah,
even at the youth level, like August 8th, like, let's go. Now until
absolutely.
Thanksgiving, you have a commitment. You know what you have to get done, and you know, here's where we're starting. One of the best memories that I have, and it's funny that you mentioned it, like, about how we were all in it together, was always the first parents meeting, when you used to drop the gauntlet, like literally drop the gauntlet, and people, you know, you'd have dads that would be like, yeah, I played third string quarterback at Bucknell back in like '87, and I think my son should be the the A squad. And you'd be like, yeah, okay, dude. Anyway, so here's how this is going to happen. What we're going to say as coaches, that's what's going to go. There's the 24-hour rule. You know, more than welcome to come up to me and talk to me about anything you want, but probably not going to get the answer you want. So we used to just sit there. And as two young guys, like, I was 30 and Josh had to be like in his mid-20s. I was just like, I remember sitting there laughing and being like, these are real adults who are being told by another real adult to, like, go pound salt, basically. Like,
yeah,
and
it was about setting the tone, right? It was a tone that we set, right? And you know, like, again, we tie it into business, right? One of my favorite sayings: lead from the front, right? So if you're dogging it and then you're asking somebody to do more than you're doing, that's not leadership, right? So, you know, I would always say, I never ask anybody to do something I'm not willing to do. Now, back when I was younger there, you know, I was doing the leg lifts, I was doing the push-ups, I was running with the kids, you know. Near the end there, I could barely run on the field, you know, but, you know, I did it, right? So I'm like, hey, I'm doing the leg lifts, I'm doing the push-ups. And yeah, I just always felt like, you know, we had that circle, right? Remember, we would have our coaches meeting, the first coaches meeting, I draw a big circle on the whiteboard, say, hey, we're all in here. Now I want your opinions. I want you to tell me what you think. But if you go outside of this circle,
Oh, it's over.
then you stay outside the circle. You're not welcome back in, right? So, and I would say to the parents, hey, when you're willing to, volunteer 35 hours a week at a minimum, what it was, and again, like we always do, we put every kid's name on the whiteboard. Okay, let's talk about Andy Gillard. What do you think? Well, he's a stud running back, safety. He's an A kid. Boom. All right. And we talked about every kid we had in the program. Back then we had 85 kids. Where does this work? What's best for this kid? Right. And then that was the message I would, give to the parents. And I had that one meeting, and I probably, knock on wood, a lot of it was luck, but it was a lot of who I surrounded myself with you guys. We had a single message, a unified message. And I used to say to parents, just trust us, right? We're here to help your kid, right? So if you think your son should be the quarterback, we think he's a guard, he's going to be a guard, but we'll make it right by your son. You can't sabotage us at home, right? And, again, it's just all about, and I think the parents saw how much we cared about their kids, right? And the energy that we put out there, right? And, so, and again, it ties into life. It's about in work and being consistent. I'm in a great position right now professionally. I'm basically a coach again, right? I'm coaching a lot of the younger salespeople at our company right now. I'm in a senior leadership role, and I'm doing what I did back then, brother. But now it's in the professional arena, and I'm springing out of bed every morning, and I got a great group that works for me, and I'm blessed, man. I've been blessed. So I just try to bring that energy every day, and I brought it back then. And again, when I see you coaching now, and even though it's at Franklin Lakes, I still love you that you're coaching there. But that makes me so proud. It really does. Like, all right, man. So what we did, translated, and now, Josh ran the program, and now you're running it there, and seeing the success that you guys are having. That's what it's about, bro. That's what it's about, man. So you make the big chief. I love that you call me the big chief. Makes me very happy and proud of you, bro. It really does.
I felt like I had fully arrived. This was probably 2 years ago when we had the scrimmage against Wyckoff and we got our heads handed to us. But when you and Mrs. O showed up, I was like, I've made it. I've officially made it. Because I think this has always been a big part of another big part of what I've respected and how I've admired you. How did you take the lessons that you learned? Again, you're very modest in the way you talk about, your kids. And your kids are all, now working and, married and, they're doing their thing. They're successful. They're parents and this and that. What are like 2 or 3 of the biggest translation points from, I guess, sports to how you raise them? And for those young adult listeners that we have, because I know some of our staff are entering that age of like, and I try to be there for them, but it's hard when you're in the parenting thing. Like you can remember having a 14, a 12, and an 8-year-old, and it's like some days you're like,
yeah, no, it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
What are we doing here, people? What are we doing? And so what were like 1 or 2 of the biggest translation points that you took from your sporting life and your career and translated that to parenting? Because that to me is a big point of, and I'm not always perfect, but I try to instill a lot of what I learned under your tutelage, especially when I'm dealing with Luca, and now Olivia is going to be playing high school tennis. And it's like, those points about being good people and being a good athlete is part of it. But if you're not, involved in giving back and understanding how small you are in this grand world that we live in, like you're big enough to make an impact, but you're small enough to be a particle in the grand scheme of the world. Like, what were 2 or 3 of those big points for you as you guys were raising the kids?
I just think it was like, your commitment to whatever you signed up for, you're going to finish it, right? So that was always big, right? So, like one year the boys wanted to try lacrosse. I can't help you with lacrosse. That's foreign to me. It's something I don't know. I couldn't help them. Basketball, baseball, football. I could still back then I could still shoot a little bit. I could get down in the stance. I could still beat them in one-on-one. And when they were in fifth grade, that's the last time I ever played them, because after that they would bump my ass, right? So, but it was always about the commitment to, you start something, you finish it, right? I remember Joe coming back like, Dad, they said I could hit people and I'm in the penalty box all the time. And, I don't want to do this. I'm like, I get it. I said, but you're going to finish the year, right? You committed to the team, right? And, you're used to being one of, if not the best player on the team, and you're not here. So there's a life lesson there. You're going to walk into work someday and there's going to be people that maybe went to Harvard or went to Yale or are smarter than you, right? You're not going to be the smartest person in the room. So do you give up? No, it's about work ethic. And, I say it all the time, and I've done it with my kids, and I say it, like, I know 100% I'm never the smartest guy in the room, right? However, I always say I'll be the hardest working person in that room, right? I will outwork somebody, right? So I always tried to instill that in my kid. And I'm not saying me, my bride is as tough as they come, and we had a united front always. Like, even if we disagreed, right, we always had the united front of like, hey, this is how it has to be. So the work ethic that was instilled in us as kids, I always tried to instill that, take the blue collar approach to whether it's a white collar situation or whether at that athletics in school. I was not a good student, right? So a lot of my parenting was on the mistakes that I've made. Like, I didn't do this the right way, so I don't want you to make those same mistakes. So make sure you're a good student. Make sure you apply yourself. Make sure you do those things, right? So I always tried to instill the work ethic in them, and I see it with my kids now. It's we're blessed. A lot of it's luck too, brother, right? A lot of it's luck, right? You remember what happened to my son? Yeah. He had that injury, and things could have been different, right? And I saw his toughness. He grinded through it, and now he's, absolutely smashing it, right? And so it was just always try to instill that, mental toughness into them. That's probably the most thing. Like, be the toughest kid in the room. Be the toughest kid on the field, because you'll get noticed, right? Be the hardest worker in the room. You get noticed, and that to me is, I think, was probably my biggest attribute. I'm a humble guy. I always tell the people that work for me, it's a saying that I've taken over the last couple, always defer to humility, because that'll never do you wrong, right? I wasn't the best athlete. I wasn't the best player, but, you played against me, you knew you were in a fight, right? I was one of the toughest cats on the field, right? And that's what I wanted to instill in our teams as a coach, right? We had the three things, right? You're going to be the best conditioned, the toughest, and the best coach. And I would always say, I'm not saying I'm the best coach, but I'm telling you, you're going to get every ounce of what I have every night, if I mail in a practice, you call me out, I'll quit. I'll never mail it in, right? So that's what I always say. I'm going to give you my best every time. And I carry that with me today in my professional life. So I'm training a lot of these younger salespeople and trying to instill that mental toughness, because, bro, work sucks. It's tough, right? It's not all great all the time. But when you can ride out the tough times, and then it makes the good times that much sweeter. So if it's anything, bro, it's that toughness that you have control of that, right? You can control your work ethic, you can control how tough you are, to bring that with you every day. So, and I tried to instill that in my kids, and my kids already have far exceeded what I ever did. And that's my proudest moment. There is watching them succeed, and then watching kids that we've coached, and now watching you. Like, again, bro, I tie this back to you. I can't even express to you how proud of you that I am, watching you grow as a businessman, as a coach, as a father. It warms my heart. Again, if I had played any role in that, which obviously you say I did, but it means more to me than I can even express to you. The fact that you asked the old coach to do this, very humbling, and I appreciate it, bro. I really do.
Well,
Yeah.
it's this, like I think I told you, it came to fruition in that as you get older, the people that are nearest and dearest to you, I think what you realize with that, what you don't realize when you're young, is that those people start to move on to the next life.
Yeah.
And it's this came to fruition just through another really good friend of mine that was, when my dad passed away, he took me under his wing and I never got to say goodbye to him. Like they were down in Florida. He had he texted me on a Friday. They were coming up about getting his shoulder checked. Who could he use? He had a simple reversal surgery for something that he had going on, and he got sepsis and was gone on Monday.
Yeah.
And so, it's so important. And now as I'm entering my like mid 40s, you see people getting sick, or people, and this wasn't happening when I was in my 30s. Like, I just looked on Facebook this morning. I got a friend or a girl that I went to school with. She just got moved to hospice because of cancer. It's like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
And so making sure that you're present, making sure that you're paying homage to the people in your life, and you're saying it. Like, you played a humongous role in my, like, you saw me a lot on the field and as a business guy. Like, you weren't with me you see me now as a parent, but like, I had just gotten married, and there were so many things I could have been doing coming off of like working in the city, and like, I had the whole world at that point, or what it felt like the whole world. And yet, similar to you, like, you marry your high school sweetheart, and then you have kids, and you get to be grounded by someone who's older than you, has more experience than you, and guys like Kenny Sullivan and you, at that time in my life, especially without my dad, it was a huge thing, because there were parts of me, even as an 18-year-old, even as a 46-year-old, that still haven't gotten over that loss. So having these role models and these guys to be like, to check you when you're not doing what you should be doing, or not doing it as well as you should be doing, or just keeping you accountable,
I think people come into your life for a reason, right? For a reason, and whatever that is, some of it's good, some of it's bad. And I mean, at the stage I'm at now, right? I'm a grandfather right now, right? And I recently had some health issues. I'm laying in a hospital. I'm like, I don't want this, right? So again, I'm trying to get myself back in shape, lose the same 50 pounds I've lost 75 times. But now I got two grandkids. They live upstairs from me. It's the greatest thing in the world, right? It is. And it's so it's different phases and stages of your life that you go through. You go through peaks and valleys. So you always got to try to find that why, right? And one thing that hit me, like when I saw your LinkedIn page the other day, and I sent that recommendation for you. I'm looking at it. I'm like, you know what? Let me jump on here and do this. Just, pay respects to my boy, right? And your reaction to that, like, it made me well up and tear up. I'm like, hey, dude, I should have done it, 5 years ago. But the fact that meant a lot to you, that meant a lot to me, so it just does.
When you say there are people that come into your lives at certain times, and there are, like, the last 4 years at DSM have been a roller coaster. Like, you go through. Nobody gave me a playbook on how to go through a 100-year pandemic, and
yeah, exactly.
But in positions like, in positions of management, I guess, or senior positions, aka you're just getting older and you have more experience, people are always looking to me for answers, and a lot of times, to your point, like, you don't have all the right answers.
No.
But you can go on experience, you can go on the failures that you've had, going back to the point about, how you parented, Joe and Pat and Aaron. Like, these are all things that you gave to me. And so that's why this isn't such a stretch. It's like these things, these homages, when I do them, it's funny because I did one last week for a friend of mine, that big fashion show that we do for Eva's Village.
Oh yeah.
And awesome. Joey Mazza is the guy at Eva's Village, who's kind of like the linchpin of like all their fundraising. And he's become like the icon of, coming through an addiction program to be what it is. And there are ebbs and flows with these where I go through times where I won't do these for a few months. And I realize that when I do them and I do get a chance to say thank you, and I do humble myself in like the gratitude of it, it just makes me happy. Yeah. And so having you write that for me, there are a lot of people who have written me recommendations, some of which I don't talk to anymore. And it was like a snapshot in my life when they did it. And those were well and good, but there are relationships that don't come and go. And what I've realized is that those relationships are the ones, as you get older, your network, in a sense, not in a business sense, but in like a personal sense, it becomes smaller. No doubt. There are people you want to be connected with, and people that you just, there was a time and place for it, and now it's not that time and place anymore. And I think that's like a super valuable lesson. So the reason why that meant so much to me was because this is a relationship now that's literally going on like 16 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And before you gave me an opportunity, there was no relationship. Like Pat and I didn't know each other before that, like from a hole in the wall.
Yep.
But we've been able to, I think, make an impact on each other's lives in ways that are meaningful. And so absolutely. That's why that meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
To close this out, with regards to, as you're gaining more experience, as you're doing the things you're doing, as you are still loving life in like a different part of life that you're in now as a grandparent and still as a dad, like as a parent, how do you put together the experiences that you had back, early on in your career, and how does that translate to later? Because for me, I'm talking about me personally now, I'm at this sort of like weird phase. Like I've got a daughter who's entering high school. She's utterly foreign to me in some respects. Like it's very hard to navigate it. But how do you take those experiences and like evolve them into becoming a grandparent? And like how has that journey been for you?
Yeah, I think, it's again, just bumps in the road your whole life, right? You make mistakes. You wish I could have done something different there. And the key is learning from your mistakes, right? And don't repeat them. And just trust your heart, trust your gut. When you come from a place of love, it's usually right? And you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to own your mistakes, right? But learn from them and move on from them, right? Like I think, like I see it now as a grandparent. My wife said it's like you love your children, but you fall in love with your grandchildren. It's such a great, profound statement, right? So watching, my daughter now be a mom, it's the coolest thing. Watching my boys be uncles right now, it's the coolest thing in the world, right? And like you think, I wish I did things different there. I was probably too stern here and this and that. And now you're seeing the evolution of that with how my daughter's parenting and how my sons are uncles. And you say like, all right, they're not going to make the mistakes that I made. And they're, that's what we always want, right? It's the evolution, right? We want the next generation to be better, right? We want our kids to have more success, all of those things, right? Those are the things that when you put your head down at the pillow at night and you pray that, you want the next level and the generation to be better. So that's kind of where I am right in my life now, brother. It's like, if I can help people, I want to help. And I've always been that way, but it's more from a place of appreciation and from a place of like, and again, we're both very humble guys, but it's like, I do still have value at 58, right? I'm 58 years old, right? And like what you and I do, like, and it's something that I say to my brothers all the time. My brother Jim, who's recently retired, but he's doing this coaching stuff, and I tell him, like, stuff that we think everyone knows and everyone should know, they don't. And that's our gift moving forward, is to share our experiences with our peers, the kids that we coach, our bosses, whatever the case may be. It's like, so, well, I thought everybody knew that. They don't. Like, and so that's kind of what I'm taking now at the twilight of my career. I still got plenty left in the tank, and I'm helping some really high level people that I work with right now, and they're seeing the value in me still. That's kind of been my motivation now. Is like, all right, you still got a lot to offer, right? It's just in a different capacity. Like, I'm not getting down doing leg lifts anymore or push-ups with the kids, right? But now I'm going to speak from my experiences and say, learn from this. I did this, it worked one time. I did it, I did it, and it didn't work. So let's take a look at it. And helping young, experienced, non-experienced salespeople, and they'll send me a note. Thank you, Pat, for helping me there. I never would have thought of it that way, and here we got the deal. Or thank you for talking me off the ledge, because business sucks right now. It's tough, right? But you got to ride it out. So I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Like, when I had my own business, right? We signed our lease September 1st, 2001. Our whole business model was Wall Street, right? 10 days later, boom, the world changed forever. And I'm sitting there with, a monthly nut I got to pay. I tried to get out of our lease. Like, sorry, you just signed a 5-year lease. Now what do we do, right? I could have sat there and cried in my beer, which I did for our country and for what happened, but had to reinvent myself. So those are the things. So that's the point, like, of reinventing myself again at 58. Of, I'm still coaching, right? I still coach basketball now, so I still scratch that itch, and I'm trying to get myself healthier because I still have a ton of value, and it's taken me a while to understand that. And people that I work with now say, yeah, that's why we brought you here, because of your experience, and we want you to impart that wisdom on these younger people. I'm so energized still, brother, to this day, to help. And as I'm always here to help you and Luca and your family and your business. And so I'm blessed beyond what I deserve. So I defer to that humility, and I just want to keep trying to add value moving forward. That's my goal, and to be a great pop-up now, and a dad, and life is good, bro. So you just want to stay positive and keep grinding, dude. Keep grinding, right? That's the end, right? Keep grinding. I say that 100 times a week to the young bucks that are reporting to me. I'm like, just got to keep grinding. I know the job sucks. We had a shitty day. Keep grinding. Tomorrow's a new day. Got to fight through it. And again, putting a ribbon on it all, that all goes back to triple sessions at Hawthorne High School, Mr. Faust and Mr. Cabral on Hawthorne Cubs stepping on my fingers when I was 9 years old doing push-ups, saying, "You gonna cry, O'Hagan?" Right? You know what I mean? Like, we'd be in jail right now if we did that. But those are the people that, Ed Faust, God rest his soul, was 8 years old, 9 years old. I still talk about him to this day. And that's the impact I want. I was very cognizant of that. And I want to have that impact on the Be Black kids, right? That's why, I put you and Josh there, because I know you're going to coach that like me and Jimmy and Tommy are coaching the A team, right? That's what it's about. Like, do not mail it in. Those kids are just as important as AJ Gallagher and Christian Albanese. And I think that's the difference, right? You treat everybody the same, and you work your ass off. And good things are going to happen, like they are with you, right? You're crushing it, and you're a bundle of energy, and you make everybody smile when they're around you. You know, it's good shit, man. It's good stuff.
Thank you. Sometimes I'll have to have you come do that pep talk for Samantha, because sometimes the bundle of energy and the always making people laugh, and because it was funny yesterday. I was looking on Instagram and I saw this thing that Jimmy Fallon did where it was the second longest zip wire in the world in Puerto Rico, and you're going like 70 miles an hour, like flat on your stomach over this gorge.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there with Luca at dinner. We took my mom to Varka last night, and I'm sitting there going, like, we got to do this. And Luca's at an age now. I'm like, now you're starting to see the coming to fruition of like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, he's like, yeah, let's do it. It's like, no, you can't, like, no, that's just not in the plan right now. Maybe when you're 18, you could do that. But like right now, you're still under my roof. So that's not happening, Darren. If you want to go do it. My mom's like, no, he's not. So my mom's saying it. I'm like, all right, everybody relax. I'm just going to book a plane ticket to Puerto Rico and we'll get it done. Don't worry about it.
Well, that's the thing now where I'm at. I still think I can do it. It's like, all right, 2 knee replacements later. And, I saw that same clip. I said, I would love to do that, but I'm too heavy to do that. I would rip that thing down. So
listen, once you get to your ideal weight, that'll be the goal. You and I will fly down to Puerto Rico and we'll jump on the zip line.
I'll be dead 30 years when I get to my ideal weight, bro.
I love the same 50 pounds 75 times.
Yeah, I've lost like 5,000 pounds in my life.
I've lost 5,000 pounds in my life, but I've put on 5,200. So right now I'm like a net plus 200.
Exactly. Yep. That's the fight. You got to keep fighting, bro. Got to keep fighting. So,
well, Big Chief, this homage is yours. Thank you so much for all you mean to me, what you've meant in my life, the lessons you've imparted on me, the time you've taken to teach me, to do the right things, to not take the easy way out. I am forever grateful to you for that. And just thankful. Your value right now is off the charts. Your value will always be off the charts because when people come into contact with you, they can feel that. And they can feel like, you always used to say, like, you got to be real. Like people can see through the BS. Like that's what it's about. If you genuinely care about people, then they'll feel that. And so for that, I'm eternally blessed to you. So thankful for your friendship. When we get back from our trip, we're going to be scrimmaging. I think we actually may have a scrimmage down by you this year. So okay. I'm thinking we might have to have you out, and then afterwards I'll bring a case of High Life and we'll sit and drink them in the parking lot. I know that doesn't weave into your fitness narrative right now, but yeah, for that night, F the fitness narrative. I don't care.
I will bring the High Life. That will be ice cold, and you got it. And again, brother, thank you for honoring me with this, and thank you for honoring me with your friendship. I love you, brother. And I'm proud of you, man. Keep being great, dude. Keep being great, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a great day. All right.
You too, Pat. Talk to you soon.
Bro. Later, man.
Bye.